You, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization, radio network, and live stream shows right here at Facebook. And you are watching The Mystery School. And so welcome, everybody. We appreciate you being here with us. And those who will be watching this recorded video, we appreciate you being here as well. Tonight is Thursday, March 28th. Can you believe it? It's already the last Thursday of the month. And it's actually, you can see the sunshine behind me, right? If I move a little bit over to my right, it'll be right in my face. It's a beautiful evening here in Toma, Wisconsin. We've got clear blue skies and the sun is setting. And what a perfect evening to have a discussion, a spiritual discussion, right, about the sounds of silence. And that is what we're going to be talking about tonight on the Mystery School. But before we actually get rolling with the information and the conversation, I would invite you to like and share the live stream. And I'm going to be doing the same thing on my phone. And so I just need to get the page up. And there we are. And I'm going to share it over to my my personal newsfeed. So that my friends all know that we're live streaming. And then I'm going to go ahead and share it over to the groups, okay? But in the meantime, I'm going to bring on my co-hosts, Ortrun and Carl Franklin, and they're coming to us all the way from Florida. I know, beautiful Florida. And so here we are. We're going to bring them on. Hello, Ortrun. Hello, Carl. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Neshi. Hi, everybody.
Great. It's wonderful. It's wonderful weather down here now.
Got to swim in the pool today and ride my bike and enjoy the sun.
And sounds like a wonderful day.
That's my mean streak.
He's making you feel bad.
Yes.
Well, hey, it was actually sunny here all day, but our high, I think, was 43 degrees. Which is a lot better than 16 below,
Yeah.
Right. We got a note from my niece. Didn't I say she said it was 68 in Minneapolis?
Yes.
68 in Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis.
Right. So that's amazing.
Hopefully the snow is over.
Hopefully. And, here in northern Wisconsin, until we actually get past May, then we're good to go. We've had ice over the ponds in on Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So cross our fingers.
Right.
That is not going to do that S word.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, over in Michigan, they certainly got a lot of snow this year.
They sure did.
And ice.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of ice. Lots of bad driving weather. So.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand it over to the two of you, and I'm going to go ahead and share to all the groups and all over the place for this. And Ortrun is going to do one of her. I just love her meditations. So we're going to kick off with that. So I'm going to leave that to the two of you, and I'll be right back.
And you will put it on my site also on Ortrun Franklin, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
I'll do that for you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Sure.
Hi, everyone, again. It's just a pleasure to be with you. We just love being with you. We love sharing the energies with you. And, we become a family here. We gather together once a month and at the Mystery School at our home that we have in Michigan, and also the ones that we have online. We only get together once a month, but it still is a community, and recognize that it's a time for us to get together and to recognize that we have people that love us, that are caring about us, that are sharing our interests. And if there's ever a need, you just put the call out to the universe, and these energies that are around us now, they'll be with us. Our topic tonight is listen to the sound of silence. And silence is such an important thing in our life. Silence is something that probably most of us had a hard time getting to. Most of us were involved with the hecticness of our everyday life. Our mind was rushing around all the time. And all of a sudden, there's a point where it says, okay, I've got to do something else. I've got to change. I've got to move more into that space of silence, of calming myself and feeling that sense of peace that comes with it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of how you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and lead you in a guided meditation. So make yourself comfortable and allow yourself to settle into our time together. This beautiful, beautiful time that we share on this beautiful evening. And as you settle into the silence, begin to listen. Listen. Listen to the holy silence that is more than any sound. Hear it say, I love you, as it encircles you around. Hear it say, I love you, no matter what you do. I am with you always, in your pain and sorrow too. I am in every blade of grass, in each distant star, and wherever I am, you are. Wherever I am, you are. Take another deep breath and listen. Listen to the melodies of love that are being sent to you from the cosmic realm. And retire to your temple, the temple within, where the I am dwells. The I am dwells. That part of you that is the connection. It is within your heart mind that the soul resides. It is the aspect of you that is ever, ever linked to all that there is. And in this space, listen. It is that space of safety, the place to come when you are saddened or feel alone or afraid. Go into that space and know that you are not alone. Sense the presence of all those that love you and care about you, surrounding your being. All of the angels and guides and masters, your spirit family, they are with you, and they embrace you with their love, with their light, with their peace and their joy. For you are them, and they are you. They are all a part of you. All of your bodies, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies are drawn together in this knowing, this understanding, and you are loved. You are embraced. As you sit in this space, this holy space of connection, find yourself begin to wander. Where does the silence lead you? Listen to it. Where does it take you? Where does the sound of silence draw you to becoming? Are you with your Christ? Are you with loved ones? Are you with the all? Are you upon the planet? Are you on the Milky Way galaxy? Are you in the universe? Sense the place that you are drawn to most, and know that this is your place. This is your place to come, to listen to the silence, where guidance is being given to you, where your mind is opened wide. New revelations are imprinted upon your heart and mind. Activation takes place. New codes of activation are being switched on for you to recognize how great you are, how you are never alone, that you are part of the whole, and all is well. All is well. In this silence, take a moment and ask a question for you which you have desired an answer. Ask it now. And listen. Listen to the holy silence. And as you listen, are you being given words or visions or color vibrations? Or is there only stillness? It is all okay. Whatever it is that you receive in this place of silence is perfect for you right now. If there is only silence and no answer seems to come, listen to that silence. For there is the message of peace, of joy, of love, of light. And allow whatever it is that you have received to infiltrate every cell of your being. Feel it now touching all of your bodies, activating all of the energy centers throughout your being. And sense how this energy, this message, this knowing, how it is now flowing down through every part of you and grounding into the ground below your feet. It is grounded into our divine Mother Gaia. This is your gift, not only to you, but to her. Know that you are a channel of light. Allow yourself to receive. Listen. Listen. And now slowly begin to bring yourself back. Continuing as much as possible to stay in this silence, even though you have now opened your eyes and you're part of the outer world. And so it is. So it is. So it is.
That was so nice. I really, really needed that tonight. I really did.
Good. Thank
It was
you.
really good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's a wonderful way to get to a space of peace
Mm-hmm.
and serenity.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Quietness.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I know many find it hard, and it can be for people to get to that space.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said many times there's places that everyone can achieve that. And I always say nature is the foremost. If you can't find peace any other way, go out to nature, go out into the woods and listen to the silence and listen to the leaves rustling and
Mm-hmm.
even the rays of the sun as they radiate through the trees, and sense the vibration that's coming, that sound vibration that's coming from that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways that we can do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that is so important for all of us. It
Mm-hmm.
makes our life so much better.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
It really does. Yeah, there's. I'm curious. I'm curious to those that are in the chat because we have a few people here with us, and they're quiet. They're quiet. But I'm curious about where, because you were asking us to go to our own place. Where do we go for the silence? Where does it take us, right? And I know for me, it takes me to my heart, to what we call the tiny space of the heart, right? And so I found myself there, and it's like, after a very busy day, it just feels so good to be there. But I'm also curious. I wonder where people, our listeners, where they found their quiet space, their quiet place, And out of curiosity, do you guys, the two of you, do you have, where do you go in your meditations for that quiet space?
Well, go ahead, Carl.
I try to connect with my soul and with my spirit family and open myself up to receive whatever it is they want to share.
Mm-hmm.
And I also try to turn my will over to them so that this body is not mine as nearly as much as it is theirs.
Mm.
And I want them to use it for their purposes, not mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. So you connect to your spirit family and in the quiet place
Yes, and my soul.
and your soul. Your
Yeah.
heart. Yeah. That's,
It's that place that you can do many things. You can go there, and as I said in part of this meditation, if you are sad, or if you have questions, or if there's something that is really troubling you, you can bring those questions to that space, because your divine ones, like as Carl said, the spirit family and your masters and your guides, all those that are working with it, they're there, and they can assist you in getting beyond whatever it is that is you don't need an answer to, or that you need assistance with, or the sorrow that you're feeling, because the divine one, there's times have seen in my visualization over the years where I'm just being held.
yes.
I'm being held by that divine presence that's there,
Mm-hmm.
and being embraced. It's just being drawn right into to their bosom. We just become one.
Mm-hmm.
And with that love that you feel in that place, things start to melt away.
Mm-hmm.
And your mind actually becomes more clear. I'm not talking about your brain. I'm talking about the mind now. It becomes more clear. But the mind also knows what the right answers are for you, because it is in that space that you connect with the divine soul. And that's the best place for you to get your information from.
Mm-hmm.
Because your soul, that aspect that's connected to the divine,
Yeah.
is the part of you that knows what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so by doing that, you're given that sense of feeling, and it doesn't always have to be in words. It doesn't have to be visual. I remember years ago, going into meditation, or I'd be with people in a meditation group, and people would come out and, oh, they saw this and they saw that, and on and on. And I thought, I didn't see anything. Now I know, being in that silence, sitting in that silence, that peacefulness, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the subconscious works differently for everyone. And whatever it is you feel in that space, and when you're there, when you are.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mystery schools, I remember Hamid in his writings talking about when he was in the he entered the mystery schools, and of course he was a very young boy. They took him in when he was about 5 or 6 years old, and he was there till he was age 18.
Mm-hmm.
So they, of course, always were, the main thing is meditation, because that's something that they needed to use for everything, right?
Right.
So, but the first thing that they had to learn was to meditate and to get into that deep space. And that's the hard part, is getting into that deeper space,
Mm-hmm.
because there are steps. And so that's why they have you do the breathing exercises and the focusing, they talk the focus. And you can do that with listening to music, or you can use it with a candle flame, many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The focusing, and then pushing aside all those thoughts that are in the brain.
Yes.
So that you can get beyond the brain and get into what is mind.
Right.
I mean, yes, our mind the brain is 10% of it or something, and the rest is subconscious and superconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So probably if this is the very first time you're meditating, you're not going to go into the superconscious. You might, but the chances are you probably aren't going to, because there's been so much that's been blocked over the years,
Mm-hmm.
just because of our daily lives.
Right.
Yeah, Neshi, in preparing for this, I was given some interesting thoughts that I'd like to share, if I might.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Most people are focused during their waking hours on the continuous, constant stream of information coming in through our five senses. And they, as long as the conscious mind is being inundated with all of this, the subconscious cannot be heard. It's being literally drowned out. And to go into the silence means, number one, you have to relax your body, and number two, you have to quiet your mind. And it's only in the quiet that the subconscious can talk to you, or messages can come through the subconscious. And the subconscious is roughly 85% of our mind. And it bothers me that our whole educational system and the sciences and medicine and so on overlook this 85% of our potential.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it doesn't make any sense. We should be utilizing, we need to learn to control our five senses instead of letting our five senses control us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We need to move beyond the five senses. Now, I'm not putting down the five senses. They're absolutely essential for living in this physical environment. But if we only focus on what's coming in through the five senses, we will never go beyond the physical.
Mm.
And if we quiet the physical, we can tune into a whole different level of reality. A reality that, well, in my experience, is simply more meaningful and far more powerful than this physical reality is, all right?
Yeah.
And to work out of your subconscious and conscious minds together, if we could go through our daily activities in that way, we could be in almost, if not constant, periodic communication with our spirit family. We would have the wisdom that they have to share with us.
Mm-hmm.
We would make better decisions. We would be far more peaceful. We would not be stressed out. We wouldn't feel the pressure. All right. And in that state, we're not only more comfortable and happier and more joyful, but we're not wasting our energy on stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
So we can be more productive.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, I live in two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the physical world and I live in the spirit world. And it's only my subconscious that can communicate with the spirit world. And it's only when my subconscious is surfaced that the spirit world can communicate with me.
Yeah.
And as we put these two worlds together, we literally create something that is more beautiful, more meaningful, more significant than living out of either one of them separately.
Mm.
And to do that, your mind has to be at a certain level of consciousness. And the psychologist would say, yeah, you need to be between 8 and 13 brainwaves per second instead of the 22 that we're functioning at most of our awake time.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, some people would say you're slowing down, right? You're slowing down your thoughts and all that rumination that we do, the mental loops that we get into. And life does slow down a bit. It doesn't mean that we're not productive. It's
Exactly.
just right. It just means that our energy is spent focused. That's good. That's a good one. It's focused. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that our audience, as I was looking to see, who's here with us, is there's many times, we've heard the phrase is that I just can't meditate. I just can't do it. I can't, my mind is just such a chatter all the time. And so they stop because, they're not doing it right.
And I have to ask then, who's in control?
Yeah.
And because I've taught meditation for so many years, for over 40 years, I try and have people recognize that there are many ways of meditating, because I think the first thing that happens is when you're meditation, I've got to sit there a half an hour or more and I can't do it. And that you don't need to do that. And that's why I say go whatever it is that relaxes you, go into the forest, or go to the mountaintop, or go to sit in front on the beach and look at the
Mhm.
waves. Those are the things that help slow your mind down. And Carl, he was saying that he's living in these two worlds, but isn't that what we're really trying to do? Isn't it? Aren't we trying to live heaven and earth, place those together? And that's really what Carl is talking about. We're bringing that heaven and earth together. And what I believe that meditation is a way of life. And so everything that you do is in a state, I'm going to say, of meditation. Now, the modern word for it now is mindfulness, right? That's the latest word for it, is mindfulness. So that we're always connected. And that doesn't mean we're in this state, we're meditating so deeply, we don't know what in the world we're doing on the outer. It's that we are relaxing ourselves enough so that we can actually get answers that easier out of our subconscious mind, easier than what it would ordinarily, because everything is in our subconscious mind, basically. So many answers are, and we're looking for answers. We got to pull them out. And I remember when I was working in the computer field, and I'd be thinking and thinking and thinking, because I'd be writing these programs, and it was not easy sometimes to figure out the method or how to get to the result. And so I would just finally just stop, and I'd say it, but now I'd say it differently probably, but I'd say, okay, let's just stop for a moment. I'd say, okay, guru of programming, come help me now. And I get the answer. And what it was a shift. It was a shift. It was a shift of moving from that stress level to a space where I allowed spirit to actually help me out.
See, and stress blocks information from coming in. One of the things that I've learned to appreciate about Florida are the 5-minute red lights. They are. I mean, it takes twice as long to get any place down here because of that.
It's true.
But I've learned that I can do an open eye meditation during a red light. I want to be open eye because I do want to know when the light changes and not have everybody honk at me. But anyway, and it keeps me relaxed driving. And it's putting that's time to good use.
Right. There's a meditation, the guided meditation that I do on my show every month. It's the Unity Breath guided meditation. And in that we work with imagery, right? So you can use that imagery of anything about Grandmother Earth or Grandfather Sky that you just really love and appreciate. And so when I was first learning this meditation years ago, I would take those times like waiting in line at we used to go to the post office. You go to the post office and you always had to wait in line, or waiting at red lights, or waiting in the line in the grocery store, or waiting for the water to boil for your tea, and taking those few moments just to bring to me those images of maybe a sunset, or Ginger, when my older dog, when she was just a puppy, or those images that bring me joy, and they're just so beautiful, right? And that was practice. It was practice, but really it was a mini meditation, and when it only just took maybe moments.
Exactly. Exactly.
Moments. Yeah.
And of course, not most of you, maybe not most of you, but many of you, that especially if they've heard us, we talk about, we're always in that state, as far as what he's talking about scientifically, the brainwave pattern of what's considered meditation twice a day, as we're going to sleep at night and as we're waking up. We're in that space where you're that in between space where you're not quite woken up yet and you're still in that groggier state. So we suggest, if people can't meditate, if they don't think they can meditate at that point in time, if you want to call it prayer, do it in that state. If you want to create your day, do it in that state, because it certainly is in your subconscious quicker that way.
Yes.
Because affirmations in the conscious mind is one for one. It's conscious and it goes into subconscious. if you're in that state where you're in the subconscious still, because you're still waking up or going to sleep, you even make one affirmation and it's like 100 to 200 times stronger as far as getting it into your subconscious mind. So you can change your, behaviors and all kinds of things and create, like you said, because you're creating, by looking at the sunset, you're creating beauty.
Right.
Or use a word, like love, bringing, like, even just saying that word love in that state, you're saying it 200 times.
Right.
And so you're bringing that vibratory frequency to your consciousness and into your entire being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are all little forms of meditation. They're not the deep, deep, deep meditation, but you don't have to start with those deep, deep, deep meditations.
No.
And I was when I was talking about Hamed, he was said that, of course, these were young children that were going through this, and some of the young ones, it would take 2 years before they could focus enough to get beyond just this chattering in the brain. So it is a process, but that's why. But we can find places where it's easier for us to do that.
Right, and there, and I agree with Carl. I mean, there is a certain amount of self-discipline.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
There's a certain amount of that, and and that is, I think that's a part of our maturation as we develop in our physical body. From a child to adolescent to adult, that we're supposed to have that opportunity to build that skill of self-discipline. But there's also that maturity in all the rest of our bodies too, both the emotional body and also, of course, that's the mental and the physical and the spiritual body. And so, there's times when I'm, teaching a class and we're doing meditations, or especially when we're doing shamanic journey, and you're journeying for another person, and they have their community or their family or a friend that is going to be their witness, right?
Yeah.
And it's the witness that I'm talking to is like, okay, I know you really like the journey work and that, but your purpose here is to stay here and to bear witness to what's going on here.
Yes.
Not to be traveling out wherever you want to, to go that way, but to remain here in the present moment, so that when your friend or family person who is having that soul retrieval done, that you can share with them what you experienced to help them ground it to the earth plane. And so there's a level of self-discipline in that to remain in your body and not go traveling on your own.
Right.
I just want to take a little break here and let you know, we've got a couple comments here.
Okay, great.
Pat McDonald, she said, joining late, couldn't find you, but you're here now. Yay, Pat. Good to have you.
Pat. Come back and listen to the replay.
Yeah, really, just the front part of it.
Right.
Mark is here as well. He says, hello, guys, just tuned in. Good to have you here. Yeah. And also Karen's here.
Hi, Karen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful meditation. Hey, and Tina's here too. Yay, Tina. She said, if a person has ADHD because of constant talk and thinking that races, it's hard for spirit to catch them to heal.
Is it hard?
Is it hard? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. Not being ADHD, it's hard for me to answer. But I think that they do have an added challenge. Yes.
Yeah.
For them, I would suggest that they try it when they go to bed, when they're falling asleep, because they have to go through that state. They have to slow their mind down in order to get down to 7 brainwaves per second, which is where the conscious mind clicks off. And if they can do it in that way, then to try other periods of time when they're doing some routine activities, okay, and just to try to slow that mind down so that they can, and repetition, if they're doing something repetitious, that normally is boring.
Yes.
Especially if they're highly intelligent. And that they can go into the alpha state at that point too, more easily than maybe other times.
Yeah. Yeah. Ortrun, do you have something you'd like to add to that?
Well, I think that ones that have ADHD can also find a space. They're okay. They can find it if they're focused on the computer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
A
Right.
mantra. A mantra.
Right. A mantra. Carl mentions a mantra. That's a possibility. So you're repeating a mantra over and over and over again, and it can be something like as simple as love. It's just saying it over and over and over because it'll bore the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they can maybe find something, okay, maybe there's something on the computer, if that's something they're drawn to, that actually does have, the meditations on it or something. Because I know there's a site that I've got one of my meditations on. Can't remember what the name of the site is though. I think In Time or something like that. And but you can look up my name and just say meditation. It'll pop my meditation up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening to it constantly, it really helps. And also the other thing is listening to meditations as you're going to sleep at night, because I know that my daughter would put on my meditations, really actually for both children, and my grandson, he's ADHD, and it would help him to go to sleep easier.
Yeah.
So do it at times where you're going to be going to sleep anyways, or if you're just waking up, allow yourself to listen to something like that may keep you in that space a little bit longer, a place where you can stay in the quietness a little bit longer, or take you into that quietness.
Okay, Tina, there's a second part to her question. Is it hard for spirit to catch them, to heal them? And the catching them is the trick there is they have to be open to receive. It's not a matter of the spirit catching them, because I honestly don't know how fast the spirit can go. But
I would think a blink of the eye.
I would think so too.
Right.
But another suggestion that comes to mind is music, soft, repetitive music that kind of repeats a theme, and also in the decor of the room that you're in. You would want a room that doesn't have a lot of activity going on in it. So to pick the time, to pick the place, to pick the environment, to pick I'm going to say the music, and to have the expectation. And the expectation is, I think, very important here, that if in this place, in this time, this is what's going to happen. And that helps to create it. And also, you don't have to be in the meditative state to talk to your spirit family or your soul. You can talk to them with your conscious mind, and they will hear. But in order for you to hear them, you need to be in the meditative state, all right, in the quiet spot. But you can ask them for help, to help you slow down your conscious mind, to help you be filled with peace, and to visualize that peace and light and love just settling over you, surrounding you, and then moving within you. Okay?
So, as Carl mentioned, actually talking to them. It's just like I was guiding a meditation. Do that to yourself. Because when I'm guiding a meditation, I'm actually doing it to myself also. I'm listening to, I'm hearing what I'm saying. So you can guide yourself into that meditation also. The other thing is I was thinking that like the candle flame meditation, because that's a way of focusing, is if you can, this would be more of an open eye meditation, but having a candle in front of you and watching that flickering of that candle and breathing and seeing if you can't allow yourself to drift into that boring flicker after a while, because it becomes boring. So that you can, but the main thing is I do believe is ask your divine ones, your God, your in voice, to assist you with that. And as we said, going to sleep at night and waking up in that space, ask that they guide you and assist you and come to you, and that they start communicating with you. And I believe there's going to be ways that it will happen for you.
I just have one thing I want to add for Tina is, and actually, Carl, you touched on it, is, there are many different ways to meditate. There's just not one. It's just not in the lotus position and being, totally quiet. There's many different ways of meditating. And there's one that with the music, and especially for people with ADHD, sometimes drumming is very very helpful.
Yeah.
Whether they're listening to the drumming or if they're doing their own drumming, because eventually what happens, and Tina, you probably have experienced this, is that as soon as you hear the drumming, there's a part of you that wants to go with the beat of the drum, and so it's almost like a rocking, right? That they're going to be doing, and that's okay. That's all right. It's that constant beat that they're going to, and if you give it a try, there's nothing wrong with that. Just to give it a try and see works best. Maybe you're going to be blending, making it very unique to your son, is taking a bit of this and a bit of that and making your own your own meditation form.
That's good. Yeah. Find out what works for you by experimentation.
Right. But there's nothing wrong with any of those forms. I mean, it's okay. And whatever your experience, like I mentioned what Hamid said about some of those children, it took them a long time to be able to focus. But if you can even stay there for 2 minutes, that's wonderful. And then maybe the next time it'll be 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all an accomplishment. It's a process. It's a process for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And it evolves. It changes as our life changes and evolves. I mean, there was a time when I used to go and do meditations for 30, 45 an hour meditations. Why? Because I didn't have anybody but me and maybe the dog to take care of. And so I could easily do that. For 8 years now, it's been okay. I can do 15 minutes there if I'm lucky, or maybe it's 5 minutes in the morning, or it's when I'm in bed and I'm just falling asleep.
I also,
it works.
I do, and maybe this is something you can do. I'm just going to suggest it. Even when when you're falling asleep, say a prayer, whatever it is you want to say, because you are in that space where you're connecting, and do that. When you wake up through the night, instead of fretting about, I can't say a prayer, do something of that sort. Do a mantra, and that. The more you do those things, the more that you're bringing yourself into that space of always being connected.
Right. And there is this, that when you're aware that you're doing that mind spinning kind of stuff, is literally to do your own interruption, is to say stop. Just stop. It's okay. Stop. And then turn your attention or your thoughts into a different direction, whether it's the imagery or maybe it is music or something like that. But to be able to do that interruption is to stop and to pause and change direction. And that's all about that self-discipline. Now, it's different for people with ADHD. That's not including them. Maybe there is an element to that, but their situation is a little bit more unique, I think.
Although I know that even like our ADHD, grand dog.
Grand dog, okay.
They have CDs specifically made for animals.
Yeah.
And so this music just for them, and just that, so he's hyper and everything else, and this music's playing, and he just settles right down.
Yeah.
So there might be some kind of music,
or essential oils.
Essential oils. That's exactly. That's right. Things of that nature that you can incorporate, and it just becomes part of your life. So
right.
And it will help to settle them down to a certain degree.
And there's also something I've never actually used one myself, but I see them, in stores and that kind of thing. They're called spinners. I'm sure that there's people in the audience that know about it.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I'm sure that there's an element to that as well, because it's much like the candle flame, um, but it's spinning, and so there's a possibility that might be also a tool.
Mhm.
Mark has something to say here. He says, "No, my son was diagnosed with ADHD. I prayed and prayed, taught him to do the same, become more conscious of himself, and he is now on his meds,
Off his meds.
off
Off his meds.
off his meds. Yeah,
Mhm. Yes.
yeah,
Isn't that wonderful? Congratulations with him on
Yes.
that. Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing is that even having one of those smooth rocks, and if they have it in their pocket, they can just, when they're feeling antsy,
Mm,
if you start, rubbing, the rock in your hand, just put your hand in the pocket and then feel that, just that, it gives them it's a soothing.
yes.
It's an element that soothes them and brings them into a different space. So
Mm.
I know there are different things like that out there
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
assist. And those, what are they called? The qigong balls or something? Those the Chinese balls. There's two balls and you roll them in
Oh
your
yeah,
hand.
there were. Yeah, you're supposed to use it with one hand. Yeah.
Those kind of
Mhm.
elements also
They,
help.
yeah, they also have a sound to them too. They
Yes.
kind of tinkle, you know.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Tina is saying, I was told that by a spiritual healer from my daughter, and that's what he said. I think she's referring to what Carl had said.
Yeah, Tina, explain
Yeah,
a little.
right.
Can you?
Yeah. All right. And Mark is saying we're very lucky he's 11. We use crystals too. Yay.
Good.
Good for you, Mark.
Right. So many of the alternative elements help now.
Mhm.
The Bach flower remedies, those
Yeah.
are really, or not just Bach, but the flower remedies, those are really very, very
Sure,
good.
sure. Yeah, and I wonder what Chinese acupuncture or Chinese medicine would do.
I'm sure it would.
Through the meridian system, right?
Right. Hmm.
Mark's on a roll. He said singing bowls.
There you go. Exactly.
Yes.
And then have them
Yes.
learn how to play them, and that'll
Right.
really be good for them. And
Right.
and also, I have an Indian flute that
Yeah. The wood flute, yeah, the cedar flute.
but it's mine's very. It's not fancy at all. The ones I see now, they're so fancy, but this was very simple. And this person that made it he learned it from a Indian chief, and a shaman. I mean, it's just things of that nature. Or I also have at my home. I have it's called a hand harp.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those? They're actually from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and you pluck away at these little
Yeah.
places,
Yeah.
and it's just things of that thing, that those things. I mean, then of course they may end up just making a horrible noise with them, but that's okay too, because it's bringing their mind to a place of centeredness. You might not necessarily like those sounds for yourself, but they work for them. Good inner sounds.
I'm wondering if a child were inclined towards an instrument, most any musical instrument, but particularly strings,
Mm-hmm.
or flutes, or if learning to play that, and in fact playing that, if that wouldn't be, because it's going to focus their mind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to create, I hope, soothing sounds. Just an idea.
Yeah. Well, I see a friend of mine one of my sisters is in the house, Teresa Girardi. Teresa, when her two kids were very, very young, toddlers, right? She took them to classes called Kindermusik.
Oh yes, oh sure, I'm familiar with those.
That was so very helpful for her kids. It really was. And so, it's going along the same vein of what Carl was saying. Is that they learned how to play different musical instruments. And so there's lots to it. We can do the same thing as adults.
Yes, and I do want to mention though that the diet is really important too. as far as for the children, and any of us, of course. And so to find out what foods are not, we know that sugars aren't good for them, and to have them eat a healthier diet.
Right.
So it's really all encompassing. You can't just say one of the things is going to help. Like Mark said, he used many different techniques to bring him around to that. But I do think that sometimes, we still as parents sometimes forget about the food part. And to keep them active. I'll tell you, the kids with the ADHD, I have another grandson that has that too. And my son, he's got him out there riding bikes all the time and doing all kinds of sports activities of that sort. He's not someone that wants to do group sports. He likes to compete on his own, swimming and things of that nature. So have them be active. I know that one grandson, my older one, that I remember his mother was homeschooling him, and I'd be a substitute teacher. And he'd come to the house, and you could see he was really getting antsy. And I'd say, "Okay, I run around the house 3 times," and it was enough to settle him down. And I think that's one of the things that they're not allowing for in schools enough yet. So they just smaller spurts of what they're doing because they can't focus long enough on a subject.
And I know that we're talking about children, but it relates to adults too, because we have this inner child, right? That likes to get out and do activities, to do playful things. Carl was just at the beginning of the show, he was saying that he was bringing up the fact that they're in Florida and he can go swimming out, in the pool and riding his bike. And I was thinking, oh my God, his inner child is just having a grand old time.
Oh, you bet. Yes, yes. I don't know of any other way to keep an old man young. So.
Now, Autumn is saying something here that I think is really interesting. She said, I like watching YouTube videos for relaxation.
Okay, great.
Found one that runs 24/7, waterfall and Native American flute music.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
That's wonderful.
That's good too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Teresa, here's Teresa. She says, hi, I've been listening. I'm painting right now as I listen. Oh, good for you. Yes, Kinder Music is a great program, pre-birth to first grade. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about a little, it's a fun way to insert that self-discipline stuff in there.
Right. Right.
And we also have one more comment here from Tina. Tina is saying, Native spiritual healer told me that it was hard to catch her spirit. She's explaining.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe there is more to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would rephrase it. It's hard for her spirit to catch her attention.
Oh.
Okay.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Because, even as adults, sometimes we miss those messages coming from our spiritual team, our spiritual families, our divine ones. They're trying to communicate to us through signs, symbols, or, through our clairs. And either, we're so busy, we don't see it, don't sense it, or we do see it and we don't want to see it. And so we try to ignore it, and they're trying to get the message across to us. And so, if you're moving so fast, because a lot of us do, you don't have to carry that little label about ADHD. That it's hard. I would imagine that it's a challenge sometimes for our spiritual teams to get those messages to us.
Even if we're not ADHD. Whenever we meditate or pray for something, we have to be listening. We have to be looking for the answer that's going to be given. And I think that all prayers are answered, but I think many of the times we just miss the answer.
Yeah.
Or
for one reason or another, right?
Yeah.
Or we don't take the time to listen.
Yeah.
I remember, someone was telling me that. And they were more in a traditional church, and they were actually in a counseling session, and the one she was being counseled with actually said, have you ever thought about listening prayer? Because, they don't use the word meditation.
Oh, yeah.
But what is listening prayer? It's the other part. You speak in prayer, and then you stop and you listen for the answer. And she said, I've really never thought about doing that, because when we pray, usually it stops with an amen, amen. It's done.
Yeah.
But do your praying and then listen, and then amen. Of course, that's an old ancient. It's actually continuing if you say it properly, amen, instead of amen. It's you're continuing with the flow of God, because that's an ancient name for God. But it's amun or amen. But the thing is, most people tend to hang up the telephone.
Well, it's a conversation, right? It's
Yeah.
a conversation, and
Right.
to have good communication in conversation is that one talks first and the other one is listening attentively, and then the roles reverse. The one that was talking now is the listener attentively and listening to the person or the being that's doing the talking. And so that's attentive listening, no matter which direction it's going in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to say regarding ADHD children.
Yes.
Carol and I, we feel that these are new children, and they are bringing great gifts to the planet. And there's going to be a time where these children are going to be so understood, but they're not right now. Right now, is where the challenging time is, because they're coming in, with their gifts, but they're not being able to utilize them because they're getting stuck being put in this box.
Yeah, most of them have very high IQs.
Right.
Yes.
They are special children.
Yes.
Special in a positive way.
Yes.
Right. And I wonder too about that light language that comes through. Who was I talking to? A friend of mine up in Alaska. There's a healer up there, and light language. They're also including indigenous languages, the ones that that pre-alphabet, a lot more symbols and that sort of thing, and sounds. That she a client of hers has an 8-year-old son who is autistic, nonverbal, and has had him in special classes and therapies and all kinds of things. And so anyway, this healer was sitting in and asked if it was okay if she used light language to speak with the child. And the mother said, "Well, what are you going to talk to him about?" She goes, "I just want to ask him why he's not speaking." And so she did, and she spoke in an indigenous language, and he replied to her in that same language. And basically, he says, "I don't know what they're saying." There's no translation.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was fascinating, and I thought about you, Carl, when we were talking about this, because of the information that you bring in from your spiritual family. So maybe you can connect with them and ask them about this piece, because I think it might be very beneficial to a lot of people in their communications. It's something to think about.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I think that it's interesting, because just recently more that's coming back. I remember years and years ago hearing about our inner, just bringing our inner sounds forward, right? And these inner sounds, they might, to us even, to someone else, they might sound really guttural, but yet to the person that's bringing them forward, they're very, very deep, and there's lots of meaning to it. We just happened to be at a gathering, actually, a solstice gathering, and one of the gals there, she was using angel language. It was really interesting. It was it was an interesting experience to be around her. So, but and she was explaining what high technological language that is, really and truly, because they're bringing in the symbols and of that nature and so on. Even though it sounds like, well, to me, I like to listen to. I speak German. That's one thing, but I like to listen to foreign languages, because there's just something about it. And like you're saying with the Native American, and there's something about the sound of it, the sound that they were projecting, and it vibrates with me. There's something I'm understanding, and there's sounds that are pleasing to me, and there's an inner understanding of it. And yes, with that ADHD child or an autistic child, that would probably make lots of
because they say that light language is a combination of music and mathematical symbols, sounds, and that it's not necessarily, the verbal like what we're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah. So what'd you get, Carl?
Nothing. Oh, what was I supposed to be working on?
No. I saw you're connecting. I thought, I wonder if I'll hear anything. That's okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot. We are at the top of the hour, but we have a couple of comments here. I want to make sure that we get in, okay? And so here's Teresa is explaining more about the kinder music. It's pretty long, but another benefit of kinder music is that they teach you about learning styles and the latest info about brain research.
Nice.
I learned that the kids that run around are actually kinesthetic learners. Oftentimes kids with ADHD are kinesthetic learners. While parents were freaking out that their kids wouldn't sit down during music lesson, the teacher assured the parents that the kids are learning and moving, and when they get home, will have the same retention of the lesson. Hope this is the ADHD discussion.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teresa, for sharing that, because again, this is, we have a 14-year-old that also has, ADHD. And he's now actually, they've taken him out of regular school, and, does online schooling. And it's just, he has improved so much. His grades have come up, it's on and on. But he went to learn scuba diving, and he went with a friend of ours who's older. And so they were sitting in class, and our friend thought, he's not listening to a thing.
He's always fidgeting and moving.
Right. And so anyhow, they took the test, and he got higher than this person did. So he was listening. He learned. He heard it all.
Yeah, he took it in.
Paying any attention. Got him in trouble in school.
And here's Tina. Tina is saying, I observe and realize she is intelligent and has spiritual gifts, but doesn't want them. It was scary for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as she grows, I'm assuming this is a child, and or a young, hopefully as she grows, she will begin her awakening process.
It's important Tina, she may need to learn how to protect herself. She might be a very sensitive child. And so things that are coming to her, because everything, she's been bombarded with many, many things. Yeah. And the more that you can have her, maybe, listening to music or so on, and telling her that, and letting her know that she has guides and masters and her loved ones around her all the time. If you want to call them angels, whatever you want, however you feel she can understand it better, but that they are around her and they are protecting her. And that she's got this shield of protection, and she can ask for that every day. And that only that comes to her, which is of the highest essence for her, in her words. You have to give her words. I'm just giving examples. And so she's protected. Okay, there you go. Adult child. That's good. Yeah. But then she is guided. She is overlighted. And only that which comes to her is of the highest essence of herself.
Regardless of the age, I'm wondering if there could be some value in, again, making available various musical instruments so they can express through that media rather than through the media of words.
I agree. I think that we're onto something there. And Mark is asking a really good question here. He's referring to the light language, and speaking of the light language, he says, would this be the same as tongues for interpretation?
Could well be, yes.
I tend to think it very well is. That's why I said, I like to, I'm from Europe, so I like language anyways. But I tend to think that because when I have listened to people speak in tongues, they're speaking a foreign language sometimes, or a Native American language, or so yes, I think it's very similar type of thing. It's something that they probably experienced before language that they've experienced before, so that's why they can tap into it.
Yeah. Now, wouldn't that lend to, especially somebody who is born, I would say, in maybe the last maybe 5 years, 10 years or so, maybe even more. Many more children are coming in with intact memories of previous lives and their experiences there, right? And so why wouldn't they come in with maybe the last language they spoke or the language they spoke in between lives? That makes sense to me.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Nesha, we're 10 minutes over the hour.
No, I know. I was looking at it too. But
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we got in the last
Yeah.
couple of comments because I think they were pretty important to touch on.
Right.
Well, it's been an interesting discussion, and I want to thank everybody that's participated.
Definitely. We love it when people participate.
Yeah.
Me too.
We learn from each other.
All right. So I'm just going to leave it with last words, parting words for our audience, and we'll start with Ortrun.
Well, the topic for tonight was listen to the holy silence, and I invite you all to take time to listen to that holy silence. We all need silence at some point because we cannot function without silence in our life at some time. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to be hermits, but we need to have our time where there is that silence. So as much as you can, focus in on that. You'll be living so much happier. So yes.
Okay, you are divine.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you're really going to know that is by quieting the conscious mind and going within and listening to the subconscious mind and connecting with the spirit person that you really are eternally. You're only a physical person for a short time, but your mental, emotional, and soul bodies are with you forever, both past and forward. So take time to become well acquainted with them, and you can only do that by going within and in the silence.
Yeah. And mine is silence is golden. And it's much more than what many of us grew up with, which was, sit down and be quiet as a child. It's much deeper than that. The silence is golden. It's golden because we're connecting and touching to our higher self, our soul, and in direct communication with the Creator, with God. And that, to me, that's why it's golden. And so with that, thank you everybody for joining us.
Just one last comment.
Yeah, sure.
Silence is golden. Don't be a cheapie.
And leave a good tip too. All right. And thank you everybody for joining us. And those that'll be watching the recorded video, thank you as well. And with that, we'll see you next month for the Mystery School, the last Thursday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Happy April, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you next month. Good night, everyone.
Night.